The method that is used to get a vehicle title is as important as actually getting the title, because even if a title certificate is issued, if it's done improperly, that title has the ability to be revoked. We've talked to hundreds of clients over the last years where they've received the title from a seller, and then 5 or 6 months later they get a notice in the mail that says the title is revoked. And the reason why is usually the method that was used to get the title was improper, or in some cases downright illegal. And here's an example of a combination of events that happened. There was a FBI report where a car dealer in Texas was convicted for crimes, and what they were doing was they were taking vehicles, and this is back 10 years ago. It was over a 2-year period in the San Antonio area. Were taking vehicles that either had liens on it, or for parts only, or for other brands like salvage or certificate of destruction, and they were using the mechanics lien process to get new titles that did not have this designation on it, clean Texas titles. And then they would sell those vehicles to unsuspecting consumers. In fact, some of these parties, we've done some investigation and research, were actually selling title services, right, to file fraudulent mechanics lien paperwork, where they would put ads in, on Craigslist or in different places that said, look, if you need a title for your vehicle, if there's a lien on it or you don't have a title, we will get it for you. And they would charge you $500 or $600 and get you a title. Well, turns out they were responsible for 613 fraudulently attained vehicle titles, and because of fraudulently filed mechanics liens. Many of these titles were revoked. Some of these people are facing years in prison because of this fraudulent title processing. And it was a large enough type of operation, meaning that vehicle titles are considered to be financial instruments, that the FBI was involved, National Insurance Crime Bureau, the Texas DMV. There was many entities involved because of the fact that vehicle titles are considered almost in the same way as currency is, because they give you the ownership of the vehicle. So one of the results of this is the Texas Independent Automotive Deal Association proposed a law where mechanics liens were under more scrutiny. In fact, this is according to their blog on TIADA. They said that not long ago, bogus liens were a large part a problem for Texas dealers, right? Mechanics have an authority to get a title for a car that somebody leaves and doesn't pay the bill. But too many mechanics, for example, this dealership, were using the process for purposes that were not intended or not legal. So what they did was they passed a law, SB 543, in the Texas legislature to address the problem of bogus mechanics liens. And what it did was establish additional requirements for those requesting a lien. So what's the result? Well, prior to the law, the mechanics liens were 17,000 in that year. After the law, the number of mechanics liens dropped to under 10,000. So many dealers still face repair shops presenting bogus liens, but at least it's lower than the prior number. The reason this is important is there are still companies online that represent to use a mechanics lien to get titles, whether it's a title for a person's own car to remove a bank loan, or it's a car that was sold and didn't get a title. And this is very prevalent in many states. In fact, the state of Indiana went farther than what this law did, and Indiana canceled the whole mechanics lien process for dealers and repair shops and towing companies. So it's something that is nationwide. The other thing about the Texas law says it is illegal to present false or bogus lien to the DMV. A person may sue any mechanic who records a fraudulent lien for $10,000 in damages if the mechanic had knowledge that the document is a fraudulent court record. Meaning that if you're a licensed mechanic and filing one of these liens, in fact, even in Texas, you can do it without a license, and you represent something on those forms that is not true, saying, hey, this car was brought in my shop for work and they didn't pay the bill. Well, if that's not what happened, that's a fraudulent statement. You can be sued for $10,000 in damages and have criminal fines too. So they take it pretty seriously, and other states are starting to follow up on this pattern. Again, this is from over a year ago when this blog post came out, but many other states are following suit because mechanics liens are notoriously misused by some unscrupulous automotive licensees. It's a legitimate process. If you're a licensed mechanic, towing company, body shop, somebody puts their car in the shop, doesn't pay the bill, you should use a mechanics lien to get compensation for your repairs. If you are a consumer and somebody offers you the opportunity to get a title for a car by using a mechanics lien, you should really look into it, maybe get some legal advice before you proceed with that method, because in many cases it's misused by companies to take your money to get you a title that may be revoked at some point. Look, for any vehicle that's legitimately yours, there are methods to get a title that are legitimate, that you don't have to resort to one of these illegal methods. Any method that's legal to get a title, you can do yourself. You don't have to pay anybody to get you a title for a vehicle. If it's your car, you deserve to have a title. Now, it may require jumping through some hoops and signing some forms, but that's the reason for that is to protect your interest in the vehicle, because they want to make sure that when they issue you a title, it's legit and there's no question that you're the owner. If you want to make it really easy to get a title, then it would also be easy for somebody else to get a title for your car. So the fact that titles are very hard to get is a good thing, because it protects your ownership down the road. So somebody can't very easily just call up and say, give me a title for that car, and then you lose your ownership rights. So titles are an important part of the ownership documentation. Don't resort to any legal or improper method to get a title. Go through the right channels. It actually doesn't cost any more money. It might take a little longer. You might have to do a little more bureaucracy, but then you don't have to worry about your title being revoked at a later date because the original process was improper or illegal.